You know the man.
President Trump?
That's him, yeah. Listen, he's got a serum for what's wrong with you. And if you could just talk to him, get with him, then everybody could be...
Yes, everybody could be what?
Everyone. Well, everybody could be normal again.
I see. You mean we could be as we were before?
Yeah, I guess so. The way we were.
The way we were. And that's what Trump thinks we want. Is that why he sent you?
He didn't send me.
Silence! Oh, yes. He sent you to offer us something from his world, to change us back to the creatures we were. A trick! A trick to weaken our resolve.
I was almost like you, but he saved me. He brought me back. And he wants us all to go away from here.
You have been damned. Don't you see that? Don't you? Prepare the family.
I don't have it.
Have what?
The plague.
I'm immune. I could come down and start kissing everybody. I'll kiss every guy, man and woman, man and woman. Look at that guy, how handsome he is. I'll kiss him. Not with a lot of enjoyment, but that's okay.
And Corn Pop
You are discarded.
Dude.
You are the refuse of the past.
I'm going to wrap this chain around your head.
You're full of crap.
I got hairy legs.
How hard it is to admit the truth.
I learned about roaches.
Take him to the little room. The light. They should have stayed clear of the light.
So don't mess with me.
I know exactly where your body is. What I'm looking for is some indication of a brain.
I've now been in 57 states.
He's what we designate as the crummy moronic type.
You're just wasting time.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
My question to you is...
You've done this.
Get her out of here!
I denounce white supremacy, okay?
You did
I
2 days
denounced
later.
white supremacy for years, but you always do. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he denounces Antifa. I watched him on the same basic show with Lester Holt, and he was asking questions like Biden was a child.
Well, so this is a little bit of a dodge.
Are you listening? I didn't.
Is it true you're getting a divorce as soon as your husband recovers his eyesight?
It's called presidential harassment. The president of your country is doing a great job. In fact, when people can, I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce white supremacy. And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats who don't.
I don't want to talk to you about this again, you snob. Hey, don't drink that poison. That's $4 an ounce.
If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place!
Now that I got your attention, we shall proceed with the class.
Welcome, brother. Here we are again, doing the dance. Doing
Another great opening.
We'll clean that up a little bit of newspeak here. We got the people over at YouTube were apparently unimpressed with our video from last week, and so they decided that they were going to whatever it is, demonetize it or just decide to shut it down. They didn't like that opening too much, so too bad. So last week we also had the problem with the internet connection up here, and I think that actually probably was a Chinese plot. Why not? I mean, they are trying to take over our country anyway. They do hold databases for every single one of us, especially you and me, brother, because we are definitely on the wrong side of China. They don't like us over there. They don't like us at all. So tonight's show is looking to be a great time. Maybe we'll probably lose internet again because of the Chinese. Who knows? Let's hope not. We're going to be talking about them. I'm planning on finish up that story on the third segment. First segment, of course, is updates. We have a handful of updates that we're going to be talking about, some definite news items. And second, brother, you're going to have, are you doing the mail-in ballots then? Or are you
We're doing the election professional analysis, part one. Then next week, of course, we will do our proprietary ballistic patriot confirmation bias analysis. We have an algorithm that allowed us to correctly predict the election last year to within 5 electoral votes, and right. I haven't run that program yet, but I do have some. I have run some election analysis due to the changed circumstances with the mail-in ballots. So
Right.
we'll do that today.
Yeah, all right. And then after that will be my China segment, and then finally, brother, you have the cleanup spot, which is
we're going to do something on a little biblical, a little history, and the question of who's been the greatest president for Black people? Is it Abraham Lincoln or Donald Trump?
Well, Joe Biden thinks Abraham Lincoln is Donald Trump. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm really surprised about that because I really think Joe Biden might have actually met Abraham Lincoln. I mean that's a possibility, right?
Well, he said he was in Congress for what, 120 years? If you
something like
numbers,
that.
Right?
I mean, he's been in Congress, he's been in Washington for so long. Let's not be surprised if that's actually the truth, right? There's a real possibility. So let's dive in to the fun. I want to start off with 50 Cent and him turning into 20 Cent. So let's see if I can get that shared on here. We got some interesting analysis from good old Chelsea. There she is. What was that? 640. Here we go.
You said he was your favorite ex-boyfriend, and then what does he do? He's supporting Trump?
He says he doesn't want to pay 62% of taxes, which, by the way, isn't a plan of Joe Biden's. That's a lie. So he doesn't want to pay 62% of taxes because he doesn't want to go from being 50 cents to 20 cents. And I had to remind him that he was a Black person, so he can't vote for Donald Trump, and that he shouldn't be influencing an entire swath of people who may listen to him because he's worried about his own personal pocketbook. So I haven't heard back from him yet, but I am willing to, seal the deal in more ways than one if he changes his mind and publicly denounces Donald Trump. I might be willing to go for another spin, if you know what I'm talking about.
So what we learned just from that, brother, is she's not worth 30 cents.
I don't think that phone call is coming there.
Yeah. She's not worth 30 cents, brother.
Why did he call me? 30 cents?
She's not worth 30 cents. So I guess the ironic, or is it? I don't know if ironic is the right word or not, but maybe just plain BS is the fact that not 4 minutes before she said that she was willing to be worth 30 cents, that because honestly, John, let's be honest, that's what she said she is worth. 30 cents, right? That's what she is claiming, if you know what I mean.
For another spin.
By the way, not breaking any election law, which we talked about, I think, last week or the week before, when you offer sex or when you offer naked pictures of yourself in order to get somebody to vote a certain way, that's against the election laws in all 50 states. But regardless, I mean, she's above the law anyway, right? Because she's a political elite. 4 minutes before she offered herself for 30 cents, she made this statement.
To costumes, you're a good sport, and I don't have a good sport attitude. I'm kind of like a Scrooge when it comes to people telling me what to do on a certain day of the year. I take offense to that.
Yeah. So she's okay, brother, with offering herself, I should say, for 50 cent or 30 cent to 50 cent, and trying to get him to tell him, because he's also a Black man, he shouldn't be voting on that day. It's perfectly okay for her to be telling a Black man how to vote, but how dare the nighttime host? Was that Jimmy Fallon or the other one? I get them mixed up. Is it because that guy can't say she should be dressed up and dressing that night? Come on, John. Come on, man. This is typical hypocritical politics at its finest from, of course, those individuals those fake people over there in Hollywood who don't know how to act and don't know how to tell a story, and more often than not will be overpaid fake people. That's really what they are, right? They're overpaid fake people. They pretend to be somebody. They're the great pretenders, right? Or the lesser pretenders they should be, is because they're not even great at pretending. I mean, look at the Democrats. They're much better at it in general, but not the ones over in Hollywood. So that's one thing, brother. I just want to point that out. I start with that because she's just claimed she's worth 30 cents. So that's one. I have another this one yesterday. I had the pleasure of going to a event locally here, and I'll put that up here. Play it in the background while Mike Strada is talking. I know you can't hear him, but he is talking. But we'll have him in the background. Brother, we have a long history with Mike Strada. Before he was sheriff, he was running for sheriff, and we were one of his first interviews way back. Like, what is that? 15 years now.
On the old show.
In the old show when we were doing that, and he's progressed. He did a couple of campaigns. He won. He's been a sheriff now for 10 years. He's solid in every single way that you can possibly imagine. The video. This video will be up on our Facebook page and our website soon enough. This is the kind of guy that we want to have holding sheriff's office. As you know, last year he was very instrumental in going after stopping he put the on the ballot. He helped get on the ballot the stop the illegal immigration measure that was pushed by Sussex County, the Second Amendment measure that was pushed in Sussex County and a bunch of other counties around the state, around the country, making Sussex County a sanctuary county. So there's
sanctuary county for Second Amendment purposes.
Second Amendment purposes, yeah, exactly. Sorry, thank you for that. And the thing with the illegal aliens was when the Attorney General was trying to get the ICE and other federal agencies not to go after illegals. That was where he was one of the people who vocally voiced his displeasure and said he was going to allow ICE in any way he could, and he was still going to help them, despite what the Attorney General said. So this is a guy who stands up for what is right and stands up for the principles that he holds dear and stands up against whoever is attacking him. He has no problem defending himself and defending the people of Sussex County, which is what you want in a sheriff. And I wish, and he makes the point, he wishes that there were more sheriffs who are willing to follow the actual rule of law and not the dictates from some person down in Trenton who thinks they're the rule of law. But that's unfortunate. We don't have people like that in the sheriffs of New Jersey and many sheriffs around the country. Instead, they want to be political. All right, so I'm going to run through some things here. Let me take Mike off there. And he also had Jack Ciattarelli there, who's running for governor next year, not this year. And he also had Frank Pallotta, who actually right now is debating Josh Gottheimer on one of the New Jersey Globe site. There's a debate going on tonight that very interesting, very, very interesting. It'll turn out to be something good, hard hitting debate. All right,
Excuse you. Excuse you. Did you just burp?
No, I didn't burp. No, I didn't burp. No, I can. Give me a few minutes. I'll be burping. But sorry. So we also have there is mounting evidence of the Chi-Com's infiltration of the West, from harassing academics to steal sensitive technology to allowing the spread of deadly fentanyl. We know, John, that there is a professor down in New Zealand who is under investigation for taking money and handing over material to the Chi-Coms. We also have more evidence of the Biden scandal. Some of the key points I just want to point out: Joe Biden, not the Hunter Biden, but Joe Biden has said that in response to the attacks on his son, he says, I just think it's crass. I'm running against Donald Trump, not his children, who, by the way, could also beat Joe Biden. Let's be honest. And then, the American people don't want to hear about it, their families, but they have no problems, going after Barron. They have no problem attacking his children, going after Jared Kushner or Ivanka. They have no problem attacking them. But how dare we bring to light the crime and corruption of Hunter Biden and his father, Joe Biden, and the big guy, as he is known in the emails. So I want to get on. I want to remind you too, brother.
James.
Yeah.
Baba Belinsky.
Baba Belinsky. I want to remind you.
Baba Boomy or
right,
Baba Belinsky?
I want to remind you right now. We have a eyewitness who was part of the email chain, Baba Belinsky, right?
Baba
Tony. And we also have hard evidence from actual emails from a hard drive that proves of Joe Biden's involvement. We also have not only Joe Biden's, but we also have Jim Biden, Joe Biden's younger brother, who's getting 10%. Hunter Biden, who's getting 20%. And we also have 10 held by H for the big guy. 10 held by Hunter.
For the big guy.
No, we have all this. We have corroborating
Corn
evidence, John, across the spectrum here, and also the FBI has said this is not a Russian collusion or a Russian type of type of attempt to affect our election. They have made it clear that this is not Russian. What they have, they have made it clear that that's not it. But we have all this evidence. But just remember, John, less than a month ago, we had 4 anonymous sources who supposedly heard President Trump badmouth veterans, badmouth the dead heroes who died on D-Day, and any hero who had died for America. We have 4 anonymous sources that never were revealed, no corroborating evidence, were shot down, denied by other people. Joe Biden and Hunter Biden has not even denied this was going on. And the mainstream media, especially NPR, has said this is not a story.
James.
So this is blatant. John, they are the enemy. They are the enemy. They are the 5th column in our country. They're not going to cover it. They're going to cover over it after what they did with the veterans and Trump, with the 4 anonymous sources. If this is their measure of what should be passed, John, their goal is they're going to cover over it right now, and then if Biden wins, then it'll become a scandal, so they can run their newspapers. This is traitorous, self-indulgent nonsense. They're putting themselves before the country. They're putting their ideology before the country, and worst of all, they're playing politics with our country's future. They have now. The die is cast, as Caesar said, brother. The die is cast. They have proven once more and finally, in my book, without a doubt, they are corrupt beyond any measure. The last thing I want to talk about, or 2 things I want to talk about. Red states are doing better than blue states, John, which gets me to my last. I want to talk about this. Red states are doing better than blue states. Republican states have generally handled the economic impact of the Chicago's virus pandemic much better than Democrat states based on unemployment data. The lockdowns imposed in response to the coronavirus pandemic hammered the economy countrywide, with unemployment rising from a historically low 3.5% in February to a record high 4.7% in April, before gradually dropping to 7.9% in September. Yet states that Trump won in 2016 have dealt with the blow much better. Here's how. Of the 10 states with the lowest unemployment in September, 9 went for Trump. In 2016. Of the 10 states with the highest unemployment, 9 went Democrat. The contrast is stark, John. There's definitely, you can see this. Places like South Dakota, they have a rate, their rate went from 3.4 to 4.1%. The best is Nebraska. It went from 3% to 3.5% during the pandemic. That's amazing, John. And Alaska went from 6.2 to 7.2. So what we see here is the red state blue state divide is real, despite what the people who are sitting on the fence. John, sitting on the fence only hurts your ass. That's all it comes down to. It only hurts your ass. The people, I don't see anybody sitting on the fence. How can you sit on the fence? You're either one side or the other. You're either with Trump or you're with Biden. Either you think that America should be first, or you think that we should be selling ourselves out of China, and America should be last. You can't be one, or you can't be in the middle. You got to be one or the other. And so when I hear these people saying I'm not biased, listen, if you're not biased, then you're really not being truthful. We have, the last thing I'm going to say is you and I have worked very hard these last several months to put together a plan, no matter who wins in November, which will be Trump, of course. But, if worst case scenario or best case scenario, we have a plan in order to save our blue states and to save the red part of the blue states specifically first. And the blue states will fix, the other parts will come along as well.
What's the plan? What's the plan?
The plan is take back the star, brother. We should have it. That is going to the grammatical and grammar Nazis who are going to rip it apart and try to fix up all our bad grammar and try to clean it up. But after that, the cover is on the draft floor right now. We should have that by the end of the week. I should have the copy edits done by the end of the week too. And we should be, I'm predicting that we are going to have a pre-election rollout, and it'll be on paperback as well as an ebook. So I'm looking forward to it, brother. I hope you are too. We're gonna be talking about it a lot. So we've been rolling into this for several months. It's time for it to happen. I'm telling you,
I thought it was the other plan where we find a Terminator, knock him on the head, steal his time machine, and go get out of this mess.
No, this plan, brother. This plan is very simple. I mean, it's a very simple plan. It deals with our country, our states that are blue. Separating them. And John, the thing is, I have heard incessantly from people in New Jersey, because I live in New Jersey. I've heard from conservatives in New Jersey. I was talking about it Saturday night, who people are saying they want to leave the state. I mean, they physically want to leave the state. And I'm like, you don't have to leave the state. The county has to leave the state. We have to separate ourselves from the state of New Jersey. There's nothing in the laws that says we can't, John. It says we can't leave the country. We can't leave our county cannot leave and secede from the country, but we can leave the state of New Jersey and create our own state, just like all the other states out there did. West Virginia, just like Kentucky, just like Tennessee, just like Maine. All these places created themselves from another state. Why can't your section of your blue state, Northern California, break away? Screw the rest of the state. Make yourself your own state. Then you become a strong, viable state, because the rest of the state of California is sucking the life out of you. Same here in New Jersey. The Northwest and the Southwest and the southern parts of the state are having the life sucked out of us for the big cities. John, did you know that Asbury Park, New Jersey, is spending $42,000 per student? $42,000. John, that is more. Wow. That is more than twice the amount of what it costs to send somebody to a Catholic high school. $42,000. And why are we doing
it? Five times.
Down by you. How much does it cost to go to Roman?
8,000.
8,000. So in Roman, you could send every kid in Asbury Park to Roman Catholics over down in Center City, Philadelphia, on Vine Street. You could send them there. Send 5 times. 5 times over. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. You could pay for their entire high school career plus their 8th grade year. You go pay from 8th to graduation. That's ridiculous, brother. It's absolutely ridiculous for just 1 year's pay. And you get a better education. Anyway, that's it from up here, brother.
All right, you just filibustered for 25 minutes. I think you blew the show, but
those were updates. They were solid.
Right. Yeah,
great updates.
I'm just saying,
those
they should
updates are going out, man.
All right.
I'm gonna eat my Reese's now. Your turn.
So we move on to the election professional analysis. All right, now this is because of the complication of the mail-in ballots, and the late voting. All right, so we had to take it into categories of states and how to run the numbers, break it down into set theory of categories of states, and then see the impact on the actual election. Now, last time we predicted 311 electoral votes. You need 270 to win. We predicted a huge win for Trump, At 311, it was actually 306, so we were 5 off. We didn't use this analysis yet. I still have to run those numbers the way we did last time. But because of the COVID and because of the mass mail-in ballots and the election, the mail-in ballots, we have a different scenario. So we have to break it down through that way. So now the first complication is the set of states that mailed ballots out to everybody. Now, this is a disgrace. There's going to be all kinds of fraud. There's going to be all kinds of ballot harvesting in places like California, where they take these ballots, they put sign them in, or they throw away all the Republican ones, or they just sign them in themselves, and then submit them. Now, there are 10 states that have ballot where they sent ballots out to everybody. 8 of those states, though, are blue states, and 2 of them are Republican. So the 8 blue states are Washington with 12 electoral votes, Oregon with 7, Nevada with 6, California with 55, Colorado with 9, Vermont with 3, Hawaii with 4, and New Jersey with 14. Now, the 2 states that are red states, Utah with 6 and Arizona with 11, also did it. But those are solidly Republican states. So, Arizona is supposed to be in play, but those are red states from last time. So if you could roll Newman, now would be a time to roll Newman.
I'm not ready for Newman. I'm sorry.
So basically, oh my geez, it crackers.
You forgot to remind me.
All right. So now I will note, though, that these are mostly Western states, and it might be a function of their state constitutions and then how their state constitutions are, quote, more progressive, meaning more responsive to immediate emotions of people rather than the long-term, the older state constitutions from the East where they're less responsive to immediate legislation. So it might be that's how they got that. But the impact is going to be more on the blue states for stealing elections than the red states. But they already steal elections hugely, bigly, as they would say, in those blue states anyway. Can you roll it yet? Give me a finger when you can roll it.
No, I'm not ready.
Oh, my God. All right. So the second class, moving on to the second class of states. Now, these are 14 states, though, who mailed out absentee ballots, not ballots. Now, there's a huge distinction in this. The huge distinction is this. Absentee ballots are verifiable. Absentee ballots go out from the state, from the election boards, and they know how many there are, and they know how many people are voting, and they know whether you vote or not. Now, this is huge because they've been doing absentee ballots. I think there's 45 of the states, 45 of them have absentee ballots of one kind. So a lot of the states just mailed out absentee ballots to everybody so you could put them in and send them in early. So you could do a lot of early voting. But that's not going to necessarily have an impact on the election because you can the election boards will know exactly how many or those ballots are still outstanding. And the way it works is that will just work like it normally works. You know, they take the number of people, registered voters they have in a particular district. They subtract the number of people who voted that day. They see how many more absentee ballots are out, and they see whether it can affect the outcome one way or another. And then the person who adds it all up will then can make a verified decision which way the state goes. Remember, it was Katherine Harris in the 2000 election in Florida, the close election where it was a basis of 300, 600 votes that would have to certify the election. So you can make those determinations with the mail-in ballot. So the actual that doesn't actually have the impact that that you would think when we talk about this election is being stolen. Now, however, another change in the election is now it's ready. Well, now you're going to have to hold on to it. Another change in the election is the after election voting, which I'll get to in a second. But I'll take a step back and go to our battleground states. Now Trump won a number of these, and he lost a number of these battleground states. So if you're giving him the ones that Trump won, just remember, are Wisconsin 10, Michigan 16, PA 20, North Carolina 15, Florida 29, New Mexico 5. Right now, he lost Minnesota 10, Nevada 6, New Hampshire 4, and Maine 4, and Colorado 9. So there's 15 states in this. 9 of them Trump won, and 6 of them that Trump lost. Of them all, PA is most likely, it's the closest of them, and it's most likely the one with a 3-day after voting hold that could screw things up. But say election day, Pennsylvania, it's because it still has 3 days. It's too close to call. It has 3 days to count all the ballots that are still outstanding. If Trump wins Minnesota and New Hampshire, which he's ahead in right now, he gets 271. He wins anyway. So now I'm going to move. That's the battleground analysis of that set of states. We're going to move on to the actual effect of this after election voting as a whole. So 15 states. We have blue states and red states. Okay, the blue states with after election voting. So basically, election should be over on election day, but because of this nonsense, except for Michigan, whose Supreme Court came and said can't do it anymore, a number of these states are going to have voting after the election's over on November 3rd. So California, with 55 electoral votes, can vote. The election can potentially extend for 17 days after November 3rd. Illinois, with 20 electoral votes, 14 days. Virginia, with 13 electoral votes, 5 days. New York, with 29, 7 days. New Jersey, with 14, 2 days. Only 2 days can New Jersey screw things up. Maryland, with 10 electoral votes, 10 days. DC, with 3 electoral votes, 7 days. Now, those are the blue states. For the red states, you have Utah, with 6 electoral votes, can screw things up with 14 days after voting. Kansas, with 6 electoral votes, 3 days. Iowa, with 6 electoral votes, 7 days. Arkansas, with 3 electoral votes, 10 days. Ohio, with 18 votes, 10 days. PA, with 20 electoral votes, 3 days. Florida, with 29 electoral votes, 2 days. North Carolina, with 15 electoral votes, 3 days. Those last ones would be the crucial ones because of our analysis last year. The battleground state has moved on from Florida, which was in 2000, to Ohio, to now Pennsylvania, and then the thin blue wall: Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania. So those last states now come into play. But say there is a 2000 Bush versus Gore Florida event where the election is so close in any particular election, and that is called for anywhere as we saw up to like 17 days. But if you run the numbers for that, if Florida has a relapse into the Bush versus Gore event, they can only screw it up for 2 days, but Trump still wins with 277. If it's North Carolina and Trump holds everything else, he can still win with 291, and that's 3 days. And for Ohio, with 10 days and 18 votes, he still wins 288. So Trump, if he holds everything he held before, is still in a good spot. Now I still have to run out the numbers on a combination effect with this and too close to call in some of the close states. That I haven't run yet, but we're going to probably run that within the next few days of our secret proprietary analysis computer that we use. Now, for predictions, what does this all run up to? Well, likely number one, the Democrats always play this game of because they're number one state, California, with 55 votes. They're always playing games with trying to call the election early to suppress people from the western end of Florida from voting and people from the strong part and the central part voting. So they love to say this. Oh, look, after poll, when you get out of the poll, they say, "What'd you vote for? Who'd you vote for?" And they try and turn that into a landslide win early on in the night, so that to suppress the voting for the rest of the day and for the time that it takes for California and the middle states to actually vote. They always play that game every single year. So I don't think it's likely that they're going to wait 17 days till they can announce for their guy. So I don't think that's actually going to be a biggest play as they win. All those states that I announced with the late voting, most of those are Western states again. Remember what the analysis we just went through? They're Western states, Oregon through to Nevada. So yes, they vote later, but those are all blue states already. So the idiots in trying to throw the election on election day, they're going to just have to say we're counting them in the blue states anyway. Well, I play that game, but it does bring the point that the late voting isn't going to have as big as impact as you would think. So that's one prediction from the Ballistic Patriot. Another one is that that night it looks like Trump could win outright the 270 that night, late into the night, either when the vote is close enough in Michigan or Minnesota that it puts him over that 270 threshold. All you need is 270. He's ahead in Minnesota and New Hampshire. Like I said before, Pennsylvania could be still in play, and he wins those two, boom, it's over. So he could win that night, and then all the left is left to do is to delay the huge landslide that he really deserves much later. They were able to do it on election night, if you remember last year, by playing games. We called the election. We got a lot of crap on it. And when it was down to after Florida fell to the Republicans, to Trump, then North Carolina, when they kept trying to say that that Hillary was ahead in North Carolina, they keep doing this game where they play off playing the north and the north-south precincts and the center precincts, which are heavily Democratic because they're inner cities. But as we all know, it's the point that we were making during the election. No. North Carolina is an east-west state. It's unbelievably long. It takes forever to drive across that damn thing. And it's the western part of the states that really count in the numbers. And they were playing this game to suppress it. And they held out. Until it was till almost all of North Carolina was in before they had to admit that North Carolina was fell. And they did the same thing for Pennsylvania. They strung it out as long as they could. But I think that in the end, unless it's close, remember what we said about them about the mail-in balloting versus the absentee balloting. Pennsylvania basically has absentee balloting, not mail-in balloting, and these states, the red states that are in play, they have mail-in. They don't have mail-in balloting, mail-in ballots where you just a bunch of ballots were shipped out and then anybody can ship them back. No. It's absentee balloting, which is verifiable and countable by the individual electoral boards. So it's not going to have as much of an effect. The most we can predict is maybe a 3-day or 2-day hold up to the actual Trump winning the 271. Now, what does that mean in the long term? Well, there are a couple other statistics that I would throw out there right now. So now you could run Newman if you want.
Ready?
Go ahead, run Newman.
Too many people got their mail. Close to 80%. Nobody from the post office has ever cracked the 50% barrier. It's like the 3-minute
mile.
Right. So most likely that the Democratic attempts to steal yet another election, to refuse to accept the American people's electoral decisions, has yet failed. All right. In the good news column, even though they are now trying to suppress Trump by some polls saying that Trump is down 12 points or 15 points forever, I want to point out some very interesting statistics. Now, it looks like the black vote, which Bush got 4% and Trump got 8%, is up. Trump might win this time 15%. That's up 7%. For the Catholic vote, where Trump won 45%, he's up 8% now. For Hispanic vote, where he was polling at 28%, he might be up to 36%, which means he might be up 8% with a Hispanic. And with the Republican, where before the 77% of Republicans were going to vote for him, today 96% of Republicans are now happy with Donald Trump. Now, there's a lot of overlap and a lot of that with the Hispanic and the Catholic, with the Republicans and the rest of it. But that, if any of that comes true, it does bring out this point. before in the 2016 election, this is exactly the same as the 2016 election in the sense that you have instead of the wildebeest and the swamp creature of the Clinton crime machine looking to rip off the government, who don't care about black people other than to exterminate them. You now have the Biden crime machine, crime family looking off the government other than black people to exterminate them. There's really no change. You have the Democratic Party has changed one swamp creature for another swamp creature. One racist nut job who wants to kill all black babies with another racist nut job who wants to kill all black babies. There's really been no change, to this election. But except for this, people now know what Donald Trump is going to do. And unlike every politician that ever came before him, he actually does what he says he's going to do. And that has made a lot of Republicans who were on the fence and iffy before going, no. He pretty much is a federalist and runs the country as a federalist. It makes a lot of Catholics who worry about life say, yeah. It makes a lot of 50 centers and Kanye West, black guys who were pro-Trump before when he was a regular citizen, going, yeah, he's still pro-black people, and Hispanics go, well, wait a minute, and this is the key thing that people seem to forget. Trump's constituency is the working class, because the working class was sold out by both sides of the aisle. The Democrats want to bring in a slave class of new illegal immigrants. That depresses working class and middle class wages. The Republicans want to sell all the jobs over to China and the rest of the world because they hate the working class. Everybody has been trying, from the Republicans to Democrats, to destroy the working class. Well, who's in the working class? Well, black people, Hispanics, white workers, Catholics, and your traditional Reagan Democrats and your traditional Republican Reagan Republicans. That's the constituency that Trump spoke to, and that he said, yeah, and that they were looking at back in 2016, saying, let's take a chance on that guy. And the last 3.5 years of the swamp trying to kill him and him standing up to the swamp proved one thing for sure: Trump is for the blacks, the Hispanics, the Catholics, the working class guy. So in one sense,
for America, John.
He's for America first. In one sense, this could be the blowout of blowouts. And if it does, somebody's got to go to jail, because look at this. They refused to accept 2016 with the Russia hoax. Mueller and the boys need to go to jail. Then it came up with the impeachment, Schiff, and the lies of Ukraine. And it was Biden all the time selling out America, right? Mm-hmm. They need to go to jail. And now, yet again, you have this hoax that Trump is behind and he's going to lose. Hey, it better be close. It better be close, like you were just talking about. These big corporations, Silicon Valley, and these big media conglomerate corporations who sell this nonsense need to be held accountable. That's what America's about, being held accountable. And so that would be 3 times that they interfered in the election, and it's time for them to go away. If he wins this big, it's time for USA go away. USA go away. Media, creeps, and all that.
I got a line for you. You know how AOC was complaining that Trump called her AOC. My line is, I would call her socialist nut job, but that's already taken by Bernie Sanders.
All right, now that's 45 minutes, and I wasted this section. So if you're going to do your China one, you got to do it.
All right, so before we get cut off by the Chinese and the Chi-Coms and their destruction of our country, there is a big. Mine's actually going to be short because I'm going to abbreviate it, and then you can come in with your last section, brother. China has, as you know, is responsible. Chi-Coms are responsible for the China virus, and we know that they are the ones who kept it quiet. We also know they knew about this in September, not as late as November. They knew about this in September, and that there was active cases in China at the time, and they knew it was going to be bad if they didn't get a handle on it fast enough. They didn't, and they sent it around the world. Now, a little known fact: China, the way China builds itself up is it tries to make a dramatic moment, and by making a dramatic moment, it's like jumping itself out in front of traffic so that everyone can see it, so they know that they're there, just to jump back out of the way. This is what China does, or they don't care the consequences as far as anything. They don't care if millions of people die. They don't care if the world faces some kind of issue. They're simply not caring about any of that as long as they get their moment in the sun. Back in 2007, the Chinese, who were just starting to really get into their stride with the space race, and remember, John, these are the same people who want to go out to Mars. Their reason for going to Mars is not for some scientific adventure. They understand that these, and I believe I mentioned this last time, that there are rare earth elements out there in space, and that they're very valuable. The reason why they're valuable is because they're rare earth elements, because there's not that many here. And so there's a lot out there in space. There's a lot out there on the moon. So China has made a very strong push to get out there, to be able to make things happen. And they want to control space. They need to control space. Even on a more closer level, they recognize that the best way to knock out America's resources, to damage our Navy, to damage our infrastructure, is to take out our satellites. That's not something that's unknown. That is well known, well established. Our satellites are key to monitoring our enemies, but also very key to communication, and also our ships and our missiles, our planes, anything that we got out there. That is all that, that's very, very the satellites are very important to us. So back in 2007, China was starting to build its anti-satellite fleet, and one of the things that they did was they very secretly. Now, just as a side note, diplomatically, when you do major things, so you don't start World War III, you tell the other people. When the Soviets were going to do a big test, they would have called us and they would have said, "Hey, we're going to be doing X thing," whether it's a naval operation, war games, or shooting down a satellite. They would tell us so that we wouldn't be going on to high alert with the fear that this was a pre-launch for or pre-strike for a nuclear launch against us, or some other type of fear that could be whatever the exercise that was going on. So you tell your opponent, listen, we're going to do this test. It's just a test. It's nothing major. That's something you do, and especially when it comes to space debris that you're going to be creating from shooting down a satellite, you want to tell other countries so that they know to move their satellites. It's a courtesy. It's a common courtesy. So what did I say before? They are looking to always make a big splash. They don't tell anybody. They just do it. They launch their missile. They take out a satellite. It's a very messy hit. It's nothing polite, nothing pleasant about it. It was one of those kinds of things where they hit it, and that was it. The point being, they didn't care about the consequences. They destroyed an entire space lane. Now our satellites and the ISS and the other ships up there need to move out of the way of the space debris that they created in 2007, 13 years ago. Still up there. They did it so that they could shock and awe the world and say, we are now playing a big game. And that's what coronavirus is. The coronavirus is nothing more than them saying they are playing the big game. And this is directly from their premier. This is from the guy at the top. This is not that can be made by some underling. This is a decision that has to be made by one person, the guy at the top. Can you imagine if an underling made this decision? Their head would have been chopped off. You don't embarrass China like this. And so they walked into this thinking that they had the power, and they were sending a message, John. They're sending a very strategic message to the rest of the world. We can make something that can wipe you out. That's all it is. This hasn't killed a lot of people. This is something that's very, compared to the Spanish flu, compared to even the Hong Kong flu, this is not as dangerous. It can kill. It's novel. There's a lot of things about it that make it dangerous. and a lot of people have died. But in comparison to the Black Plague, the Black Plague was one of those time periods when the world population decreased. That's what the Chinese are making. They're making something like a Black Plague so that they can wipe out large segments of the population. They'll be the ones prepared. This is not something new for China, is my point. They've done this before in the past, in 2007, and other issues, like when they cracked down on Hong Kong, they're making a point. When they cracked down on Mongolia, they're making a point. When they cracked down when they put the troops on the border with India, they're making a point. When they build the islands in the South China Sea, they're making a point. And their point is very simple. We are going to push back against you. We're here to fight. And so if the countries of the world don't get this in their head, they're all going to be dealing with the China that's going to be out of control. It's already starting to do it. Fortunately, we have President Trump, who has built the Quad, who's been working very strong to build the Quad alliance. He's been getting closer to Taiwan, which will be the front line, John. Taiwan, Japan, Philippines, Australia, India. This will be the front line for the next war, and we are going to have to be able to contain China. Otherwise, it will eventually go very bad very quickly. There's no doubt about it in my mind. So be on the lookout for more signs, because the Chinese like to send signs between the lines. They will never come out and say, we're going to destroy you or kill you. They're not like Iran. Iran very succinctly says America is evil. They want to kill Americans. They want to wipe out America. They will, China doesn't do that. China says it in between the lines, and you have to look at what they're doing. Coronavirus is an in-between-the-line moment. They're saying that they can do it whenever they want, so you better start kissing their butt. Quite frankly, that's not what America does unless we're a Biden. So that's my 15 minutes or 10 minutes, brother. I will now hand it back to you to finish it up with your the dogma is strong with you, I can see.
No, I'm not doing that one. We're doing this. It came up in the debate that good old Biden, I forgot to ask you to pull this one, said Abraham Lincoln over here, referring to Trumpy, because Trumpy makes a great point that he's been the best president for blacks since Abraham Lincoln. And it's actually true. Now, if you look at his record, how do you know? Of course, the lie has to do this calculated deception that Republicans are evil racists and that Donald Trump is an evil racist, because that gives them cover for their racist policy of exterminating the entire black race while nobody's looking, through abortion and putting all their abortion mills in the cities, inner cities. So you know them as their fruits. What are the fruits of Donald Trump? Well, the fruits are he funded the black colleges for 10 years. He got Tim Scott on his opportunity zones to bring money into the inner cities. He freed, I think, as much as 4,000 or so federal prisoners through executive orders and clemency because of the mandatory minimums on black people. A lot of black people who ran afoul of the federal mandatory minimums for drug crimes. And these mandatory minimums, like on the state level, they could be 2 years, 5 years. These federal mandatory minimums, we're talking 10, 20, and 30 years. These are people spending
Biden plan, John?
Right, from the crime bill that he that he authored and voted for and was so passionate for. I think he played a little bit. Was people going to spend the rest of their lives for nonviolent, in jail for the rest for nonviolent crime. This is that night that you saw her speak, this Alice Johnson, Miss Alice Johnson, and so she was letting all those people out. Plus the lowest black employment before the COVID crisis. So if he is, and of course, black people make a large number of the working class. And again, as we said before, Trump is literally the only guy who's been fighting for the working class since Reagan. So if he is a racist towards black people, he of course is the worst one ever. Which would also translate to him being one of the best presidents for black people again. Now, an interesting little story came up from history. That I was reading my history book, and I like to read you some of this history. In it, there's this famous guy, I forget his name, it's something like Jesus or something like that, and he's being questioned by an evil lawyer. All lawyers are totally evil. And this lawyer apparently heard him talk, and he used this term neighbor, right? And he was going to trap Jesus, into Jesus, this Jesus guy, about saying who is the neighbor? Is it we're talking the Egyptians or the Greeks or the hated Romans? Who are you seriously talking about? These neighbors, right? So he's going to trap them. So he goes. On this occasion, teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And this Jesus character goes, what is written in the law? How do you read it? He says, well, the lawyer, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself. See, he's laying out that trap, right? And Jesus says, you have answered correctly. Jesus replied, do this and you will live. But then the lawyer, because he trapped him, right? But he wanted to justify himself. That's what that's what Luke says. It says, so he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? And he's just waiting to pounce on Jesus. But Jesus knew it was a trap. The guy's God, for God's sake. He knows it's a trap. And so he's thinking, if I say the Egyptians, that's going to mean anything. If I say the Greeks, a lot of our Greeks are our neighbors. If I say the Romans, I could be in a lot of trouble for that. But how about this? How about I say the worst thing that you could possibly say? Who is the worst? At that time, the worst thing that you could possibly be would be a Samaritan. Now, the Samaritans were the Jews' versions of the Jews. Just like today, if you want to discriminate against somebody and you want to, wipe out a population, the Jews are like the canary in the minefield. Once they start going for the Jews, they're coming for all of us, right? That's what happened in Germany. It's what's happening today, in various Muslim cultures too. The Jews were the Samaritans. They were mistreated like the way Catholics, Irish, Italians, blacks, you name it, have always been mistreated. They were the other. The reason why is because there's like a 600-year enmity between the Samaritans and the Jews. The Jews been taken off in the Babylonian captivity. When they came back by the Persians, they tried to reestablish the temple, and the Samaritans had been there for generations, and they considered themselves the Jews. So the Jews didn't consider the Samaritans real Jews. They considered them traitors and others. So this guy Jesus starts telling the story about a Samaritan, and he goes like this: a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by Antifa. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A Sandy Ocasio-Cortez came by and happened to be going down the same road, and when she saw the man pass, she passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite by the name of Pelosi, when she was coming down, saw him and passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and he bandaged him his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expenses you may have. Which of these, Jesus says to the lawyer, which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hapless hands of Antifa? And then the scumbag lawyer couldn't bring himself to say the name of the Samaritan. He says, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, disappointed, go and do likewise. That lawyer that couldn't even bring his name to say it was the Samaritan. Now, of course, you know the name of the Samaritan, right? What's his name, brother?
It's a good Samaritan. Oh, Trump, of course.
All right. So your heart, so you do not have a stiff neck. You do not have a hardened heart. You can see the wisdom in the words of that great man. Boy, am I going to probably go to hell. I have a lot of explaining to do.
John, it's a great story. No, it's a great story. But it's exactly. I mean, I would argue that you have nailed that right on with the way the Trump derangement syndrome is holding
And I have
strong.
one more point.
It's just the same thing with Jesus too. I mean, unless
One more-
you're Pope Francis, the Chi-Coms, I mean they hate God too.
And one more point on that. There's one more huge point on that. He scoffed. That Biden creep scoffed at Trump. And Trump, I really believe he's like a lot of people. He knows he's a sinner, knows he's made a lot of mistakes, but knows true that Jesus Christ was Lord, and that he will be redeemed from his sins because God loves us so much. Jesus came down to save us all. Now, one of the things though. Is I'm going to write one of these books. We have to write one of these. Is the inventions of Jesus. One of the inventions is literally tolerance. Yes, lots of people had tolerance. Yes, lots of people have compassion. It's written on the human heart. But Jesus institutionalizes it, and to such a degree, so that when Trump says, "I've been the best president for since Abraham Lincoln," he doesn't even know how true he's been, because whereas Abraham Lincoln freed black people from this otherness, from the physical bonds of slavery, if, like the statistics we were talking before, if Trump breaks the Democrat stranglehold on the poor black community, he will have freed the black community from the psychological dependency on slavery, from the psychological dependency on the Democratic Party, and will have done more for black people in America than everybody else who's come before.
Mm-hmm.
And proving once again, hey, Joey Biden, yeah, that guy is Abraham Lincoln, you idiot. And that is our Bible reading for today. Namaset, brother. Namaset.
Very good, brother. Very good. We're at an hour and 2 minutes. So I just want to leave with this. I don't know if you heard one last bit of news, brother. By the way, great job with that last bit there. One last bit of news. The Canadian, some bureaucratic ministry in Canada actually did something right this last week. They declared that the Chi-Coms are committing genocide against the Uyghurs. So that they, and this is, I think this has really got to do with the wave that Trump has pushed in the world, not just in America. People are now standing up for what is right instead of kissing the rears of people like Obama, who just want to appease and appease and appease. Now we're starting to get into the Winston Churchills of our world, who are standing up to these evil people, the Chi-Coms. They're evil. They are evil. They are the evil empire of our generation, and I have no problem defending that. Just go look at what the Uyghurs are going through. And all the other political prisoners. You don't get to harvest human body parts and think that people are going to think you're great. Having said that, brother, that's our show. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. And we're going to go out on the same way we came in.
Thanks, brother. God bless.
Remember, those of you who are still watching, like and subscribe. Make sure thank you for listening as long as you have. Thank you for investing your time. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you really like what you heard today, make sure you tell all your friends and really become obnoxious and tell the Democrats about us, because we like to piss off Democrats. I hope you know that, because there's a lot of good ones out there, but there's a lot of ones that need to be pissed off in order to change their mind. All right, brother, that's it for now. Talk to you soon.
You know the man.
President Trump.
That's him, yeah. Listen, he's got a serum for what's wrong with you. And if you could just talk to him, get with him, then everybody could be...
Yes, everybody could be what?
Everyone. Well, everybody could be normal again.
I see. You mean we could be as we were before?
Yeah, I guess so. The way we were.
The way we were. And that's what Trump thinks we want. Is that why he sent you?
He didn't send me.
Silence! Oh, yes. He sent you to offer us something from his world, to change us back to the creatures we were. A trick! A trick to weaken our resolve.
I was almost like you, but he saved me. He brought me back. And he wants us all to go away from here.
You have been damned. Don't you see that? Don't you?
Prepare the family.
I don't have it. Plague.
I'm immune. I could come down and start kissing everybody. I'll kiss every guy, man and woman, man and woman. Look at that guy, how handsome he is. I'll kiss him. Not with a lot of enjoyment, but that's okay.
And Corn Pop
You are
was a
discarded.
bad dude.
You are the refuse of the past.
I'm gonna wrap this chain around your head.
You're full of crap.
I got hairy legs.
How hard it is to admit the truth.
If I learned about roaches.
Take him to the little room. The light. They should have stayed clear of the light.
So don't mess with me.
I know exactly where your body is. What I'm looking for is some indication of a brains.
I've now been in 57 states.
He's what we designate as the crummy moronic type.
You're just wasting time.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Secretary, my question to you is,
You've done this.
Get her out of here!
seem like
I denounce white supremacy, okay?
You did
I've
2 days
denounced
later.
white supremacy for years, but you always do. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he denounces Antifa. I watched him on the same basic show with Lester Holt, and he was asking questions like Biden was a child.
well, so this is a little bit of a dodge.
Are you listening? I didn't.
Is it true you're getting a divorce as soon as your husband recovers his eyesight?
It's called presidential harassment. The president of your country is doing a great job.
In fact, when people can, I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce white supremacy. And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats who don't.
I don't want to talk to you about this again, you snob. Hey, don't drink that poison. That's $4 an ounce.
If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
Now that I got your attention, we shall proceed with the class.